guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're talking all about disturbing books. I have 10 books that I personally enjoyed and recommend. They are disgusting, disturbing, graphic, gory, nasty horror books. And you guys know those are the things that I love, right? So I just recently started reading horror and extreme horror in November when I started this channel. So none of these books will be a surprise or anything new that you haven't seen if you've been watching my channel for a while, but I'm going to be going over the 10 most disgusting books that I've read, that I enjoyed, that made me cringe. I also want to film a video of just like my favorite horror books, like general horror books that aren't that like disgusting or graphic. So this video is going to be disgusting, graphic, extreme horror ish, and then I'm going to be doing another video with just general horror. So if that's more your speed, you don't like super graphic books, then be on the lookout for that video, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on that one. Also, I will be filming more of these, like the more horror and extreme horror that I read. I think I'm gonna do like one of these videos every few months with more recommendations. So we're just gonna be starting a series, like I'm just gonna be building upon this video. So the first recommendation that I have is no surprise to any of you. It is Survivor by J.F. Gonzalez. This is probably my favorite book of all time. I absolutely love it. I'm obsessed. So this is an extreme horror book about a woman that is abducted by this man, and he tells her she's going to star in a snuff film, which is a pornographic video where the person is tortured and murdered at the end. So this man tells her, you know, you're going to be the star of my snuff film, and she is trying to do everything that she can to survive, hence the name Survivor. Very graphic, disturbing, heart palpitating, anxiety inducing. It is so, so good. The second half reads more like a thriller, almost like a procedural thriller type book, and I find that for me, extreme horror that reads a little bit more like a thriller, those are my favorite types of extreme horror books. So yeah, I'm just obsessed with this one. Definitely let me know if you plan on reading it, and if you've read it already, let me know how you liked it, because I'm just obsessed, and I never see anyone give this like a bad review. So yeah. The next recommendation that I have is The Groomer by John Athen. So this is another similar book to Survivor. I had the exact same feelings reading this one. Very like heart palpitating, anxiety inducing. So, so, so good. And this one is following, it's kind of like Survivor but with children. So we are following a man who is doing everything that he possibly can to get his daughter back after she was kidnapped by a man who participates in filming children. It's like a snuff film situation but with children. Very extreme, graphic. If you don't like books that have to do with like graphic scenes involving children, do not read this one, but it reads more like a thriller, and it was very, I don't know, it made me depressed, it made me sad, it made me anxious. I was like on the edge of my seat like reading this book because I was just so anxious. It does, you know, read more like a thriller. Like you can't stop flipping pages to find out what happens next, and it is so, so, so good. Highly recommend if you're into extreme horror to check this one out if you haven't already. The next recommendation is, no surprise, Brother by Anya Alborn. This one is the most tame out of all the books on this list, I would say. So if you are looking for something disturbing and will terrify you and make you anxious, but you aren't looking for all the violence and gore, I would check this one out. But we are following this family of cannibals, which the cannibalism isn't very like prominent in the book. They just kind of mention that they're eating people, but it's not super graphic. But yeah, we're following this family of cannibals, and we are reading from the perspective of the one 19-year-old son who is not into the kind of things that his family is doing, which is abducting women, luring them in, torturing them, killing them, and eating them. He's not into it. So we are following him and his family as they do these fucked up, sinister things. And it's also based off of the movie Chained. So if you've ever seen that, this is what it's loosely based off of. Excellent movie, excellent book. One of my all-time favorite books. Definitely disturbing, but doesn't really like go there as much as it could. Like, I almost wish it did go there a little bit more, but very bleak and depressing as well, and obsessed. My next recommendation is The Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum. So this one, this is one of those books where it is so graphic and disgusting and vile that I was like, is this a 5-star read or a 1-star read? Like, you don't even know when you read it. You almost feel guilty for liking it, because this is based off of a true story. This is based off of the true crime case of Sylvia Likens, who was brutally beaten and tortured and humiliated by her babysitter and neighborhood children. And the things that they did to this poor girl and the things that happen in this book are horrific. They are so vile to read about. So vile. And it's a very difficult read, very hard to stomach, especially knowing that these things happened in real life. It's very hard to stomach, but it was very well written and very well done. And I definitely recommend everyone at least tries to check it out, unless you know like something being based off of a true story is gonna like really push your limits. Don't do it, but it's definitely worth checking out. It's very well done, but like I said, you almost feel guilty for liking this book because it's so fucked up. My next recommendation is True Crime by Samantha Kolsenik. This is a novella, so if you're looking for something short and sweet and disturbing, this is for you. So we are following this girl and her brother. They are in an abusive household. Their mother is such a disgusting, horrible, vile human being, and they decide to murder her. And after they murder her, they are on the run and on a road trip where they encounter lots of other terrible, shitty people, and wild things happen. I don't want to give too much away about this one. If you like bleak, depressing, disturbing books that are short and sweet, check this one out. There's also some animal cruelty in here as well, by the way, so be aware of that, because that's something that is really hard for me to stomach in books. So be on the lookout for that. But I still gave this 5 stars. Like, I still highly recommend it. It's very wild. My next read is my favorite thriller of all time, and that is Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter, my queen. I love this book so much. This one is my favorite thriller. It's just so good. We're again following the snuff film trope. Listen, I love my snuff film books. What can I say? This one is following these 2 sisters, and we find out that their other sister, their third sister, went missing when they were teenagers, and one of the sisters, her husband is killed, and we find out there's a link between what happened to the missing sister and what happened to the husband, and it definitely goes there where other thrillers don't go. Like, Karen Slaughter is so great at creating stories that are just really well done, really character driven and plot driven, and just so in depth, where you care about these characters so much. And she really goes there with like the gore and the violence. Like, she isn't afraid to overly describe things that other thriller books do not, and I highly recommend checking out Karen Slaughter if you haven't already and you love disturbing books. Next I have Tender is the Flesh by Agustina Bazterrica. I read this book this year. This is another short book. I think it's about 200 pages, somewhere around there, and it's super, super graphic and disturbing and disgusting. And we're following this society in where this virus hits and animal meat is poisonous and humans are forced to eat each other. It's a cannibalistic book where humans are raised in slaughter farms as animals would be, and it is very bleak, very depressing, and I would definitely check this out. It has a lot to say with society and capitalism and the media and how animals are treated. There's just so much to say with this book, and it is so well done. Highly recommend. Next is The Troop by Nick Cutter. This is very heavy body horror, which I am not the biggest fan of. Like, it's just gross and not even gross to me, so I just don't really care about it that much, but I do think that this book is worth checking out because it is very highly praised and very highly loved by so many people in the horror community. I gave it 3.5 because it didn't really do it for me, you know, like I'm saying, it's very heavily body horror, but I do recommend it. It's a survival horror book where these Boy Scouts go out and they come across this emaciated man, and it is a contagion horror. So this man has something going on, and they are left like stranded on this island, starving, and it's a whole thing. Very like isolated setting. And there is a lot of animal cruelty in this book that really turned me off and really pissed me off, so be aware of that. It was very well written and everyone seems to love it, so I'm putting it in this video. Next is Exquisite Corpse by Poppy Z. Bright. This one is another extreme horror book where we are following two serial killers. They are both cannibalistic serial killers, and they meet up with each other and realize they enjoy killing in a similar fashion. And we are also following two men at the same time that are ex-lovers, and they also come across these two serial killers. So we are following these four gay men, and the things that happen in this book, it's very graphic, very violent, and like sexually graphic. Lots of sex and gore in this book, and I totally recommend if you're looking for something like that. It is a wild time, and not to mention beautifully written. So well written. Poppy Z. Bright is an amazing writer, I can tell. If you have any recommendations of any of their other books, definitely let me know, because I cannot wait to read more books by them. Yeah, this book is fucking insane and has a lot to do with like the AIDS epidemic and just a lot of social commentary, but so graphic. So the only book I've ever read where it has a sex scene involving intestines. Last but not least is Lovesick by John Athen. This one is disgusting. So we are following this man who, his girlfriend cheated on him, and he is obsessed with giving people diseases. You can probably guess where this is gonna go. It is very disgusting, graphic, like heavy trigger warnings for everything. There are some scenes, like I gave it a 3.5 because it was a little bit disgusting and it felt like it was trying too hard to be disgusting, if that makes sense. Like the descriptions of like blood and pus and like semen and shit, I'm like, okay, seriously, like what am I reading, Chandler Morrison? But I did like the overall plot and storyline and where this went traumatized me. There are some scenes involving food. Traumatized. Never want to eat again. Yeah, overall I do still recommend it. So yeah, those are some 10 disturbing book recommendations. Let me know if you've read any of these, if you plan on reading them, and yeah, I will definitely be doing just a general horror recommendation video and like a general thriller recommendation video soon. So yeah, I think I'm gonna make this a series, so you will see in a few more months some more disturbing book recommendations, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.